Oh,
Hello, my little ponies. I am Starlight 33X, and welcome to another fun chat.
And today we'll be discussing, in case you haven't guessed it, my little ponies, robot. As a mechatronic technician, this makes me extremely happy. Here today to help me discuss the wonderful things of all metal is my half-android buddy, DCP,
Hello.
Rainbow X Dash, which is not
hey
good,
everyone.
and Zachary, whose
Hello,
name I can't remember.
hello, I'm just a random person. But I go by my fanboy 15 as well. I just kind of stumbled onto here, not knowing what we were going to talk about.
Most people do that. You'd be surprised how many people just stumble across my little podcast. Anyways, so why don't we start off with some of those robots we loved as kids? Why don't we start off with Transformers? But before we go on that, let's find out if anybody is pro-robot.
Well, if we weren't pro-robot, we wouldn't be here.
You'd be surprised how many people are anti-robot. They're afraid we'll do something as silly as take over the world.
Of course.
Of course. I know what these... Continue.
I was just gonna say, I know somebody's probably gonna hurt me for this, but the only Transformers related thing that I have seen is the Michael Bay movies.
I kind of feel like punching you. What did we bought? Yeah, I think we bought that. I feel like no, because that's also been slang for a different type of thing for the Brony community. I do not know what to say, but I will put my hoof in your face.
I'm sorry.
So it's okay. It's okay. I got up every morning extra early just to watch the cartoon as a little kid. I was mad, obsessed with that and Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Nobody remembers that? Of course, I watched the TV show, not the board game thing.
Wait, what TV show?
Carmen Sandiego.
Oh yeah, I love that. We're in the world of Carmen Sandiego. Carmen Sandiego. Oh, Spider's here.
Oh my God, Spider showed up.
Hey, Biter.
Beep boop.
We're talking about robots.
Beep boop. I am a robot. Haha. Haha. Yes.
Okay.
So
So everything is cam here, and we have all of them.
Okay.
Strange, we were
Well,
talking about robots, but then we suddenly talked about where in the world is Carmen
Okay.
Sandiego.
Yeah, we should probably get back on topic.
Okay, one thing. I'm actually gonna be leaving right now soon. I have errands to do. I'll be back. See ya.
Bye, Rainbow.
Bye.
See you soon. Well, Biter, you came in just in time to be our fourth double.
If anyone is
I tried
qualified
to
to talk about robots, etc.
Force the limit. Anyway, so yeah, we were on Transformers. What is your opinion of Transformers, Biter?
I don't really know much of the American toy franchise that much. I see they produce games and movies and heard a bit about them, but they've never really crossed into my life.
Really? I watched it every morning as a little kid.
Have any of you guys heard of Robot Wars?
Yes, I have.
wasn't that the show on TV back when it was?
Wait,
She likes that kill a lot.
Alright, I thought Robot... Right, wasn't Robot Wars like a game show?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that.
My favorite one was Sir Kill-A-Lot. The one that just stood in the corner and waited.
Yeah, it had the big giant claw and the whirly, stabby, lancey thing.
Yeah, it had the mace and the lance. And usually teamed up with that pincer one.
Well, they upgraded him with a claw. I think that's the
did
thing. Originally, he had just had two things to prod things with, and basically, his one strength was just so big, he could just dominate with his sheer mass and engine.
Yeah. What he used to do was he used to roll in and put them in that giant crushing thing in the center. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I quite liked.
where are you
I
laughing?
really liked the design of what was it? There was a really slick robot design for one
Streamline?
of the house robots.
Oh man, man, I think it's been about like like I don't know 9 or 10 years since I last seen Robot Wars. Holy
I'm
crap!
gonna go to the wiki to see if it's still there.
I
Uh,
know. Well, I'm familiar mostly with, of course, the BBC. Originally, I think was the BBC
Why can't we
television
get
series.
BBC Europe over here in America? All you can get is BBC America. They won't let you get BBC England. You can't even go onto their website, BBC England, and get it here in America to like watch the show because I'm a huge fan of Horrible Histories, and it's impossible to get it over here.
Yeah.
Spider, do you watch Horrible Histories?
So, watch what?
Horrible Histories.
Oh, I've seen a few of them. I mostly actually got acquainted. I really liked the books they produced back in the day because I think it was actually a book series first, and from that success, they were able to fund, some TV programs, and they were sort of the same fun as the books, but the books had so much more in them that much more interactivity, much more reading. Just I liked that more informational style than the TV
Lucky
series.
I can get a couple of episodes of it on YouTube, let alone being able to actually find the book. I could probably get one shipped over, though. I'll have to look into that. But if you don't like history, or if you love history, I recommend checking out Horrible Histories. You will learn stuff and get some awesome songs caught in your head.
as
Sherlock was a house spot. It was actually owned by the company who made the show.
What?
I'm looking at the wiki right now about Sir Kill-Lot, and he was one of the house bots.
Cool.
Yeah, the house robot. A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of the robots are always featured, like Matilda, Sir Kill-a-Lot, Shunt, what was his name? Sergeant Bash.
Sergeant Blast. Yeah, Bash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
he
were
was one of the
all
originals.
original house robots. They're owned by the people making it. And there's the other one with the circular saw and the two grabby arm things,
Mr. Psycho.
something like that.
Yeah.
Still,
yeah,
I watched Robot Wars back when I was a child. And I really liked it. Like, it's an interesting show. Like at the beginning, of course, they're just it's all these basic roboticists just doing it as a hobby.
of course you should kind of expect that since it's the beginning.
Yeah, but it's just sort of you're watching boxes bump into one another, and like the best robot would be. I think the best one was Panic Attack, wasn't it? Like one of the first seasons.
Yeah, but like boxes find each other.
It was just a
reminds
box
me.
with two spikes on the front, but because it was so like the one advantage, they had two main advantages. One, it was well built, so it had a lot of maneuverability and speed, so it could ram into other robots, and two, it had a really good driver.
Because it reminds me of this one SpongeBob episode where Squidward's watching boxing, and so they're just two boxes fighting against each other.
Yeah. I mean, there were loads of designs like ramp designs and whatnot, but the thing that really helped Panic Attack, I think, was that it was really well piloted. So the thing with a lot of the ramps was that they weren't that well piloted. So the guy would just drive behind them and ram them in the back, and they couldn't turn around fast enough before he was away. It was that kind of, it was skill over technology a lot of times with him, and that was why Panic Attack was always quite an interesting. It was just the guy and his little daughter, and he was the main enthusiast, and she was probably just along for the ride. But he was an expert driver, I think it was. I'm not sure if she drove, I can't remember. But the point is that they always got really far, despite their machine basically only upgrading the next time with a little ramp thing that kind of lifted the opponent sometimes, and then the next time just with a self-righting mechanism. They kept with the box design throughout the show.
Yeah.
I once made a fighting robot. It was really cool. I attached a saw blade to it. It was awesome.
Yeah, for Robot Wars, I know there was an American version, which wasn't really. It didn't. It started off, of course, with just the the basic robots, but I don't think it ever kicked off the same as the BBC
Mhm.
version.
No, there's a
No.
huge fan base out there for fighting robots. It just doesn't make good TV here in the States because we have a lot of violence on TV. And
I
so just
remember.
watching
I
robots.
remember they used to show reruns of that on Nick Gas.
Yeah.
Lots.
Hmm.
Oh,
So
back when Nick Gas was still on.
yeah, but I always just sort of when I was a kid, like I remember when I was at school, we would play with Legos and make our own robots and have fake robot wars.
Yeah.
Just I think it was there was a kind of after school thing where they kept the kids around for a while and just messed around with toys, for parents who were at work, and that was the
It was
time
good.
they just. And for that one, I was a bit unfair. I think at one point when I just I took a big block and put stuff on top of it, and then just used it a bit like just like a ram and just rammed into other people's stuff. Because the solid block won't break, but theirs will.
Yeah.
Too efficient I was. Too efficient.
Sort of like
Oh,
K90X.
or a bit like Hypnodisc, if any of you guys remember that one.
Yeah.
Hypnotoad.
Refbot was pretty cool, except he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he got in the way a lot sometimes.
Yeah, according to the website, his job was to keep the other house bots in line. He wasn't meant to interfere with the other robots.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of. I think it was best. It was mostly they used him as a form of role play, or as
Yeah, a
like
referee.
a robot. Yeah, that the house robots go a little bit to town to be the bad guy against the more powerful robot.
Yeah.
And don't worry, Refbot is charging in, but he's a bit badly made, so he's a bit slow.
Yeah.
And
He's like the referee in wrestling. He
it-
doesn't really need to be there.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Unless there are a few exceptions when it comes to referees in wrestling.
I think one other function of Refbot that at least was useful was if things set on fire. Like,
Yes, he
I
had
think
this
the original
extinguisher.
house robots. Yeah, he was always sort of nearby with an extinguisher and plenty of fuel, no doubt. Whereas the other house
Hello.
robots probably couldn't really feature it because they were already pretty slick design.
Hello, Canvas Pony. Or Cameras Pony. We're talking about robots!
Oh.
Or more specifically,
Is
Robot
that
Wars.
why I got
Yes.
mysteriously invited to this chat?
I invite everyone. It's not that mysterious.
Oh, I see.
If you are invited once, or if I like your channel, you get put on this list, and you're forever there, unless you do something to piss me off, like Bubble, in which case you get kicked off.
Okay.
Don't think anybody remembers Bubble. He was only on here once.
Okay.
He just got
Wait, remember who?
Bubble.
Oh, I think I said Treble. I was like, oh, what would he ever do?
No, it was Bubble.
Hmm.
He
So-
was just doing stupid things, like turning on his camera and walking backward on the outside stair of a stair rail, just acting stupid. But let's not talk about that, because we are live.
Yeah, John, we're live. Cameras, what's your experience with robots and TV shows and stuff?
In TV shows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably have more
Well, you're
experience with
grown up.
robots in real life than I do in TV shows. I don't know.
I get it.
Whoa!
I
I can't do that. By the
watched.
way, viewers, the Q&A is on. So if you have questions, just like
I don't know. I watched Doctor Who. There's plenty of robots in that, Cybermen, Daleks, sort of.
yes,
I
there
watched
is.
Doctor Who as well.
There's dialects are partial robots, so are
Yep.
the android Cybermen. Cybernats, I believe, are completely robotic, or like they have teeth or something like that.
Yeah, I forget
But you have
exactly what the deal with
K90X, which is
Cybernetics
awesome.
is.
K90X is awesome, even though he's always useless. It's like whenever, like you could really use one of his abilities. It's like recharging.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Robot's useless. Part of my language.
But yeah, when I come as a kid, when it comes to my experience with robots, well, there was one TV show that had a robot in it, and that was the cartoon known as Megas XLR, and it was awesome. It was the shit. Even though it wasn't that long. You know, it didn't last very long. It was only like 26 episodes.
I liked Big O.
We,
Like, I remember perfectly staying up until like 3 in the morning just to watch that anime.
because get this, a robot from the future gets sent back to the past in the junkyard, and the guy buys it for $2. Giant robot, sweet.
Oh yeah, I've seen a bit of that cartoon.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Sounds somewhat like Iron Giant. Or giant robots and
Except for Iron
Oh,
Giant was from space.
That's true.
But we're just talking about robots in general. It doesn't matter if it's from space or whatnot.
Yeah,
Or-
you know,
I
I do some.
didn't say. I was just stating that it was from space.
Yeah. My experience, I would say, in a summation of lots of media, is robots were often used as easy cannon fodder in both games and TV. So, like,
That's true. Want stuff you
Sam-
can kill without moral problems. Use robots.
yeah.
Yay!
So, like,
Alright,
if you
so I guess
If you
I
can-
guess I can also count Sonic X when it has robots.
Yeah, like Samurai Jack. Instead of having lots
Yes.
of blood all over the place, let's have tons of oil and exploding robots.
Which is kind of weird.
That way we can
because
get away with a
discovery.
TVY7 rating.
Yeah, or like in Animaniacs, instead of it just being a bat that he's using to beat the living daylights out of it, let's just put bat wings on it. Yeah, that will keep kids from, bashing their parents over their head with a baseball bat.
Or like in the Powerpuff Girls when they fight robots.
Yeah.
Well, Powerpuff Girls fight robots in general. Although, I have to say that I don't quite understand how, in, like, the powers of the Powerpuff Girls, how on earth that Buttercup could fall in love with the Green Gang's leader. What was that?
An episode?
Yeah, it was an episode. She fell in love, and so he tricked her into beating up people that were just, like, doing their jobs and stuff so they could steal stuff.
There's probably a moral there somewhere about emotions, maybe.
Probably, but all the same, ew. Hell,
Well, it
it
could
would be
be
better if
worse.
she fell in love with him.
Oh, look, I can do screen share.
And heck, Dexter's Laboratory is filled with robots.
Yeah, the
Why do you
DD
just have that
constantly
line around?
Hmm?
Why do you just have that line around?
What line?
He was probably reading it.
Oh,
Wait,
it's
Oh,
just
this
like,
one-
oh, why
let's
did you
have
have
to talk about robots?
It has a robot in it. Robots in
You
it.
fill the chat and just draw everything robot related to him from the in the neighborhood to his room.
Super Secret Crisis War.
Yeah, all my robot stuff is on the opposite wall. Yeah, that's a right there. That's a medal for a robotics competition. So, robot stuff.
Oh, how can I forget? So the other show that I watched that's filled with robots is, of course, Futurama.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Future.
I haven't actually watched like the last. I kind of stopped
Right,
watching
right.
Futurama, like, 'cause I haven't like the last 2 seasons. I think I never saw any of. But yeah,
It
Oh,
has
yeah.
sort of been going on for quite a while, I think. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, it's a bit with The Simpsons. Like, they're still going, but is it just the show isn't as good anymore, or am I just so fatigued with their style? I think
Well,
that, you know,
at least
it's
with
fatigue.
well,
well, at least Futurama ended before it got just before what happened to the
No,
season
because
happened.
they
to
would end it and then it'd get brought back, and then they would end it again and it'd get brought back.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
apparently it's gone for real this time. So
Yeah, Futurama is one
I'll
of those
believe that when
shows.
I see it.
Futurama is one of those shows where every time you kill it, it keeps coming back.
It's like Family Guy.
was such
Yeah,
Exactly.
a
it's kind of like the dialects. I never understood what was so funny about the
Dialects.
Family Guy. I've never laughed at a single episode.
It's not funny. It's
Nope.
funny for the one episode you see, and then it's basically the same joke.
Yeah, like rape
Jump cuts.
jokes. Like rape jokes and such.
I mean, it's the same thing with The Simpsons. I understand that the earlier episodes were funny, but I watched the Simpsons marathon episode, and for just the episodes I saw, which I watched 2 whole days of it, because I was trying to figure out why people like this show, and there was only one joke that made me laugh. One joke, and it was because I lived in Michigan, close to Detroit, and it was just this joke where at the beginning of the episode, I think it was the girl one, but not the mom.
Girl.
Elisa
Eva,
March.
I think it is. Yeah, and she's like, Springfield's lost another family to the economy of Detroit. And it just made me laugh because Detroit's in such a shithole. How bad is Springfield for people to be leaving it for Detroit?
there's always
It
a
was the only one that made me laugh.
there's always a self-depreciatory depreciatory angle to The Simpsons, which is I quite appreciate as a British guy.
If I remember correctly, in the future, isn't there supposed to be a Simpsons and Futurama crossover in the future?
There was one. There's meant to be currently a Family Guy Simpsons crossover in the works.
There's a few references between Futurama and The Simpsons. I remember in the Simpsons game, which overall is a pretty crappy game. I remember
With
the
Family
final
Guy.
boss in it was Matt Groening, and he attacked you by drawing Futurama characters and throwing them at you, and they'd come to life. So you had to go and beat up a whole bunch of clones of Bender and Dr. Zoidberg and stuff.
There was one time, I think, in Futurama, I might be misremembering, but it was basically they had the head of Matt Groening in an interview, and people were like, "Are you going to make another Simpsons movie?" No! Stop asking!
Oh, right, yeah, they had that.
I
and then-
remember when they went to
they also had-
I remember when they went to the Ball of Junk that
yeah, I was going to mention
they
that.
had the a Bart doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One piece of
Oh,
trash.
yeah, episode. Eat my shorts. Okay.
Yeah.
Shorts.
I think there's a whole page on a wiki on the Simpsons thing saying it's quite long, but Futurama in the Simpsons, and then the Simpsons in Futurama.
Yeah.
Which is,
Heck, there's the Unacamba crossover between the two.
I posted it in this call's chat if any of the others want to see it.
Okay.
Well, at least we're kind of talking about robots now.
Well, I mean, how the conversation to be on task?
Yeah. Currently playing the SpongeBob game where all the enemies are robots. Battle for Bikini
Interesting.
Bottom.
Well, there's I mean, a common choice for robots isn't just that they're morally okay to kill them, or at least it's a lot more accepted than actual people killing people. But it's also in terms of animating it, you can make robots aren't natural creatures. So if you smash them and they kind of jitter and disappear, people don't really question that the same as if you stab a guy in the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus,
the only,
you have a lot of fun stylistic choices with designing robot characters. You can do all sorts of cute things with that.
although you'll feel pretty bad if a robot gets destroyed that just happened to have feelings.
To Astro Boy.
They're like, in at least like in a video game or something where you're fighting
My own
tons of robot enemies, you
podcast.
defeat it, it just sort of pops and lots of gears fly everywhere, and that makes
Yeah.
sense. But if it just they just sort of popped into just random bones and organs and blood splashed everywhere, it's kind of silly.
Google Plus kicked me out of my own podcast.
Don't worry, we're still live.
Yes, but they kicked me out of my own podcast.
At least you're better than Puzzle. He got banned from his own podcast.
That sounds like something Puzzle would do.
I
To me,
can't
that just
stand
seems like the kind
myself
of thing
anymore.
that would happen to Puzzle.
Oh, Matthew, you managed to get on. Good. I was just about to try to resend you an invite. I was like, I could have sworn I sent you an invite. I could be wrong. It's the green pony, if you're wondering.
Yeah, yes.
By the way, didn't I have a rule that people weren't supposed to use their cameras, or was I mistaken? I don't remember. I really don't care. What did I miss?
The only reason that I'm using my camera is because the alternative is my profile picture, and I haven't updated my profile picture for my regular Google account, not my channel account. It's horribly, and it's like the picture of the first iteration of my OC. I'd rather not show it.
Down there.
Oh yeah, you showed it. You're like, God, is that horrible or something?
Yeah.
That's okay. As I said before, I really don't care.
But
Not
anyways,
this one.
speaking of robots, when it comes to me and robots, I don't really think much about them. They're just robots to destroy.
It would be nice if we had real robots, though, to like cook and clean. And,
Like
Uh,
Jetsons.
So basically, a Mr. Handy.
Yeah,
The one that came
but,
to mind for me was from Jetsons.
Yeah, the realm of robotics hasn't necessarily exploded into the realm of domestic affairs, though for more specialized or militaristic tasks, automations, automated machines are, of course, a lot more prevalent nowadays.
Well,
Humanity advances through the
there's a
military.
uniroll that will hold a guy's junk now. For really, really lazy people, it's there. They've invented it.
Well, in the domestic setting, there's only robots being sort of characters or destroyed in media, and then there's also the only domestic setting I could think of would be like those Robo Puppy things.
I think the
hate those
vacuums. Those robotic
Oh,
vacuums.
Oh yeah, the robot vacuums. That's true.
Although I did have one of those robot kitties, and a friend of mine had the robot puppies, and somehow they knew that they were like a dog and a cat, and like the cat would hiss at the robot dog, and the dog would bark at the robot cat. It was kind of funny.
That
Yeah,
sounds disturbing.
they're always rather kind of expensive toys for a kind of okay gimmick. I have heard there are some really cool.
I
Like,
got
really-
at a yard sale for $3 as a kid.
Yeah. The really sophisticated ones, they actually work pretty well and have lots of sophisticated programming, are pretty expensive and just haven't really launched that much.
Yeah.
People are just too lazy and cheap.
Furbies are still creepy, no matter how much they update them. Like, apparently you have to have an iPhone in order to have one of these things to even feed them. And, like, God, they're just creepy.
Yeah. Though I do like the robot floor cleaners. The Roomba is one of them.
I could not have one of those. I have a bulldog. He would, like, freak out. Like, try to eat the thing. Or attack it.
That would make good YouTube.
Before we
Yeah.
got to see him fly. Speaking of which, for those of you that are interested in Harley, he managed to finally meet his accomplishment of going around the tree twice.
Okay.
Yay.
He has this lead, and when a car comes by, he'll run full force, and his lead ends at a tree. And so what happens is he'll run full force, the string will go taut, and he'll go into the air, and it'll swing him around the tree. Well, he finally managed to make the goal of going around twice
That's horrible.
in one run.
Decapitate himself.
Yeah, he's not. Nah, he's a bulldog. He'll be alright.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, though. He doesn't get hurt, but it was really funny.
People really overestimated the entire world of tomorrow, didn't they? Because in 2 years we're meant to have flying cars, according to stuff like Back to the Future.
Oh yeah, because like a couple days ago, it was the year when Marty took off to the future, and yeah, we still don't have flying cars.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
stuff
it's
like the
hard.
Jetsons said that in the year 2000 would be in space on the moon, fighting moon communists. If I remember correctly, that was one of the backstories in that show.
Well, they did predict one thing, right? Even though they didn't say it. Skype.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of things we can do nowadays that were not really precedented before, like the instant amount, how we can instantly communicate and find information. That wasn't necessarily precedented in the past.
Yeah. And those
Whereas,
weird, disturbing phone watches that they had in the Jetsons as well.
all right. I mean,
It would also be nice to. We also have like those instant foods. Like, no, we don't really have, put a pizza in the microwave, have it be like a little block and like it expands. But we do have a lot of stuff that we cook in the microwave now that we didn't. Like, you can actually microwave pizza in the microwave and it tastes decent, and like instant mac and cheese and all this other stuff. It's not like all in the little cube like in the movie, but we do have a lot of instant food.
food science and food transportation and storage has improved immensely, often without necessarily the consumer's knowledge. But
And there are hoverboards; they're just insanely expensive.
yeah. So on the topic of robots, do any of you have looked into the realms of robot science and where we are currently in terms of first robot intelligences and of course robot bodies?
Well, as I said before, I'm actually a certified mechatronic technician, so I can program robots. And actually, I think it was last year, in Japan, they actually managed to make a completely automated human-type robot that looks like a human and can act like a human.
Well, I think yeah, I'm not sure about that news. Like, I know there was a guy in Japan, the one who coined the term "uncanny valley," who was trying to make even more realistic. Who initially tried to make incredibly realistically looking human robots. Make them look just like a human. But
Right.
he found that they were, ever so close. They were so close to being human that it put people off even more than, just a tin box.
Yeah, we could have a robot apocalypse on our hands.
Well, you see, that's kind of the silly reaction that people give that, oh, look, this robot kind of has a human face, so therefore robot
It's a
apocalypse.
Terminator.
But yeah, if
Blame Terminator.
if we have a stylized robot that looks a lot more like a robot but also rather friendly, then suddenly, oh hey, this is actually kind of cool. People act completely differently according to how it looks, which is of course rather
Yeah.
vain.
And of course, then people don't want to screw it. It seems to be the main issue with things like, what was it? Like, come on, that's one of the first things that
If I had my webcam
going
on,
to
you would see
happen
two
with
fingers
human
at the screen right
computers.
now.
I haven't
I
heard
hate
necessarily that
yeah.
much.
Like, it's
People
in a
talking about
ton of
that issue.
stories, animes,
I
like even
hate
on
you.
Futurama they had it where you could download like a celebrity into this robot thing and it looked like them, and like,
Oh my
like
god,
it's
not
been
again.
in every franchise. People get attached to these robots.
Yep.
They've been in action movies and all this other stuff, and apparently they can be created with emotions, like even robots that are designed to destroy, like the Terminator.
Yeah, I don't necessarily care that much that about people the hysteria about no sex robots.
Well, not just sexual, but getting emotionally attached to machines. Look how attached people get to their phones.
Yeah. You drop your
Okay,
phone and you panic.
okay. I think I finally got the shit to actually work for me for once in my goddamn life. Let's just hope it doesn't
Oh my
screw up on me
god,
this time.
Trick!
Okay, yeah, it works.
He's multiplying, kill him.
Yep, it works.
Okay.
So, can you see it?
What?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
can
see it?
Why are we looking at this?
I know, I want to show it to you.
We're
I'm
talking
thinking
about robots,
between the
though. And other
There
than
is a
robots,
robot on there.
Oh
I
wait,
was just
pull
saying,
that
other
back
than
up. I want to see who's there.
It's a
Pull
robot.
up the
It's
shot.
a
I
robot.
want to see it. I want to see the shot. Hey, look, there's Kirby. There's Pikachu. There's
Yes,
Jigglypuff.
Danny. I
And
hate
it's
you.
Jigglypuff.
I
I want to
hate
be
you. I hate
Jigglypuff.
these characters. The 4 characters I've selected, I hate with a burning passion.
Wigglypuff's a little small.
I
Well,
don't
what
care
more,
about
what
it
would be
because
more
it is a
cathartic?
pain in the butt. It
What
is a
would be
big pain
more?
in the butt.
What would be more cathartic than beating up 3 Jigglypuffs?
Jigglypuff is the worst thing I've ever met. It's the most annoyingest thing I've ever met. Except for psychic types. Psychic types because it puts my Pokemon to sleep.
Hey, my Noctowl does
What's
that
my
as well. Like
Yeah, but
I had a
Jigglypuff is a lot more
Noctowl.
endurance. No, it's more of a Jigglypuff is a shit ton more endurance as well, and he's
Yeah,
annoying in
but you
Smash
see,
Bros.
my Noctowl had Attract, Hypnosis, and I think it was like a Confuse Ray and Peck.
Yeah, but she has Charm. I'm pretty sure that Jigglypuff has Charm, Pound, Roll. No, it had Defense Curl, Sing, Charm, Attract, and Roll Out. I think it was. I don't know.
Yeah, something like
They're
that.
just
But
annoying.
rollout can actually become effective. The fine thing with Peck is you set
No,
them to
that's
sleep
what was
and then you
annoying.
slowly peck them.
That's what takes me off. She put me to sleep, and then had me attracted. So I couldn't. So I was all my Pokemon were either asleep or attracted. So I was forced to sit there while she rolled all of my Pokemon. And by the time I managed to actually react, I had 1 Pokemon left with 1 HP.
Yep, that's the
Jigglypuff's
idea
annoying.
of those kind of effects. That's the fun.
Yeah.
Is Noctowl.
Why is
It's-
Goku there?
This is a
Naruto.
fan game. This is a fan game. So they can put anything they want in here.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's why they have the other ones. They've actually done really well with Goku. They've got him on very down low. They actually haven't got him very. He's not very OP. The OPest in this is actually
A big thank you to Sesame-chan for remembering where to actually put the comment correctly and for leaving comments below. Thank you. Because the Q&A is working, people. Just so you know.
Can we get back on topic now?
Yeah.
What topic? Oh yeah.
Robots, of course.
Let's see. How about robots that we are endeared to, like Wally?
Well, I was actually bringing up the topic of earlier of advances in robot technology. Like, we haven't been able to make robots that are able to walk around and such, but what we have found is that trying to program a robot to walk around the place perfectly is really difficult. But if you can teach you can program a robot to learn and improvise, then not only will it become a lot more able to adapt to the world around it, but people become a lot more accepting of it.
Because it's like a child.
In a way, but also just we often equate robots with being incredibly input-output type machines. You know, they only do standard actions. They only, think in certain ways. They can't think outside the box.
Like you.
Hey! Wow,
Hey,
shots
so-
fired. Shots fired.
This is the interesting thing when I say I describe myself as a robot, because robots nowadays can, or at least, we often use robots along with the software that can adapt. Like, I don't remember the exact name of the talk, but there is a very interesting TED talk where a guy has made improvising robots, and it started off basically just make an arm that can move back and forth and play keys on a keyboard. And he would jam with some music and program the computer to try and follow along with the music he's making, try to accompany it. And the point in that programming was to, when he changes the rhythm or whatever of his music, the computer would have to try and adapt to the change. So if he suddenly stops, the robot is actually trying to play a note. It's like, oh wait, no, he's not playing anything. Stop. Or try and play a final note, try and finish it off properly.
Yeah.
And, you know, people, even though it's just an arm playing on a keyboard, you know, it's just an arm moving back and forth, touching the keys. As simple as it can be. It's quite endearing, actually, watching him and the robot play together, because it's almost like jamming with a real person. Because, you know, both of you are just going along and making up as you go, but also both trying to work together. And, you know, it's interesting seeing the robots, you know, sort of take the lead or be a bit slow to react. And that, you know, people are endeared to that more so than a robot perfectly playing the most complex piano solo ever.
And soon we will have robots like Bender.
Yes, there need to be
We
more
won't.
robots like
shiny
that.
metal.
But
Butts are funny.
Not really. They're kind of just round and squishy.
Though, even though like we are able to make self-adapting robots nowadays, and there is quite a lot of good design work and effort put into, you know, self-ambulatory robot bodies and so on. It's like there's not necessarily yet an application for that. I mean, a self-adapting robot is incredibly potentially useful, but you know, a fixed automated process is always just so efficient, and we just don't have any need for, you know, in a domestic or any business setting for, you know, an Android type robot yet. They're not as sophisticated enough. At least
They're on that sort of limbo between being useful and just being a trinket.
I would still like it
they're
to
being
sell.
developed is the thing. You know, it's an ongoing science, or, you know, an ongoing project.
I would still like a self-driving car. I hate driving so much, and it would take care of so many idiots.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are an idiot now crashing into a tree.
that could actually.
Yeah, indeed. I think actually, yeah, self-driving cars might indeed become much more popular. At least,
They're a good idea.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they've been driving around for quite a while now, for quite some distances without any accidents, and they're much more reliable than human drivers on average, I think, already.
Yes, but what happens when the program fails?
Well, people
That's what I'm
still
talking
need to
about.
learn how to
Those
drive.
programs, those programs there. That program is open to hacking, and they can hack it so that you can't drive, but the car can drive. You can't. The controls are locked for you, but they can control it. So they can crash you into a building. They can crash you into your friend. They can do whatever the hell they want, and you won't even be responsible. Well, you won't even be able to do anything.
Well, one thing to note is that is already a possibility with modern cars.
Yeah, but at least you could but if they hack into that car, they can cause a massive accident by having you stop halfway through the freeway.
Or turning off your brakes.
Or turning off your brakes, preventing your suspension from activating. Constantly putting your windscreen wipers on.
If they turn off your brakes and you're on a motorway, you can't slow
Do you
down.
think maybe it occurred to you, it occurred to the dozens of scientists that were working on that car?
Yeah, I think it does, as our lives become even more integrated with computer electronics and software, you know, the potential for harm and cyber warfare hugely increases and puts a lot more at risk. We are already hugely at risk in our modern cars already, and there's lots of things that, you know, if people have access to the right stuff, could break into and totally ruin their shit. I mean, what was the name of that incredibly advanced hacking that program used to attack the nuclear program in Iran? Any of you guys heard of it?
No, sorry.
I don't watch the news. It depresses me.
That's what the news is meant to do.
Stuxnet is one of the most advanced hacking programs we've ever seen, and has probably been developed by the biggest contender is probably the United States, because they have a big problem with Iran and its nuclear program, though we can't prove it, of course.
Every program can be hacked.
That program was well, it took us quite a few months to decode after it escaped out into the public, but it was used to target specific a specific machine within Iranian spinner. There were these things, uranium spinners or something that generate uranium for the nuclear program. And the idea was that it would infect the computer. It would study what's going on, the patterns, and then what it would do is it would put out a false input and tell them everything is going all right, but eventually what it would do it would tell the machine
Cause a
to do
meltdown.
something that would destroy itself. So even though the computers all think it's going all okay, and on the monitors it says it's all okay, at the same time all their equipment is being destroyed, and they put their nuclear program back 3 or 4 years. And the program used two hitherto unknown. I'm not sure what they're called. I'll have to look it up. But it's
ISIS?
there's 2 or 3 numbers or so critical to Windows code that weren't ever known before, at least to the public, before Stuxnet was finally unraveled. And this is a very specialized, directed cyber warfare weapon directed at Iran's nuclear facilities at one group of machines to do one purpose without anyone ever noticing.
Guess they were prepared for for World War IV then, or World War III or whatever. I don't pay much attention to the World War numbers.
Well, it is interesting what other weapons whoever unleashed it. Well, I'm sure there's probably lots of cyber warfare in the
Would have
works.
just stayed instead of like we pulled out too quickly. I know everybody's like, well, we really need to leave because but we really should have stayed a bit longer and helped them set up their military forces before leaving them like that, because they weren't properly prepared. So when we left, it just left an opening for another terrorist group to pop up.
I'd say we just wiped them all out.
Terrorists,
No, we don't need to wipe them all out. Not all of them are bad.
But they'll keep going until one side is completely dead. That's the problem with Iran and Iraq.
Yeah,
they
because
just don't stop fighting each other.
Because they
That's
get
why
all
you
racist.
get-
They think,
Sorry.
oh god, someone's done this. That entire continent is bad because that's just decoding a stupid stereotype. So what? If someone does it, why should everyone else suffer? I hate that. God damn.
I'm not sure.
For the
I
most part,
think
it's
there's
just
really-
a lot of people that are stuck in there. And
Exactly,
it's
they're
just
stuck in there and
human
they're forced.
habit.
They're forced to fight when they're not even supposed to be brung in this. The people who should fight are people who want to fight. Are the people who want to fight, not people who just want to survive.
Because if they refuse, oftentimes they're killed. But this is not the place or the time to talk about politics.
The topic was robots, but yeah, as I was saying, the risks of
Robots, religious extremists. Yeah, it's roughly the same thing.
Yeah, I think the threats of global cyber warfare, hopefully.
Someone, sorry, I want to go back to the topic for a second, just to state something and then end it. Someone said this really weird thing, like, since we use this so much, that they predicted that World War III, or whatever World War, and it's just gonna be people just raging over the comment section.
No, it'll probably be if we ever do have a World War III, it'll probably end up with the human race dying or going into nuclear winter.
Probably.
It really depends on what we mean by. I think that this Socratic exercise really needs us to actually establish what would be the cause of the World War III and how it would really happen. I mean,
lack of resources leading to mass
America had
escalation.
enough of England shit. There you go.
The situation is that
Key important thing to remember is you really can't have we really wouldn't be able to have a worldwide nuclear winter. Nuclear winter is just a term used to describe nuclear fallout, which remains fairly stationary. So it'd be isolated to very specific areas.
So
Then it will be
basically, only
nuclear
Australia would be
temperature.
safe. Yeah, so basically
Yeah!
Australia would be
I would be
fake.
alive!
So
I would be
DCB
alive!
Donnie, if we have a World War III, I might be coming to visit you.
And me! You'll come to visit me too, right?
Um,
Maybe?
Are
well,
you in
it's interesting.
Australia?
Yes, I'm in Melbourne.
Then
You're in
yes,
Melbourne?
I'd come visit you.
How's the weather in Melbourne
Yeah.
lately?
Cold!
It's cold
Because
there
Thanks for
too?
Australia is
asking.
the only place without nuclear
Supposed to be.
warheads, and so nobody would have any need to fire at them.
It's
Matter of fact,
supposed to
Well,
be.
I mean, if there was ever, all the nukes being launched, I mean, the safest people would be probably like, South Korea or
South
the
Korea, aren't they mostly targets? Like, aren't they
yeah,
mostly
but they
targets for
also
the
have one of the thickest defense networks. I'm not sure,
Because
like
of
it
North
depends on
Korea.
how it launches, but they've been preparing a lot.
oh
I mean,
my
the
god,
US, of course, has quite a they have the capability in their own defense
Biter,
network.
biter, 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 biter. I just remembered something. The first YouTube video I ever saw was called "The End of the World," and it was on this very thing, where
Yeah, I
people
know.
start
I've seen it.
firing off nuclear warheads, and it's nuclear winter. And I'm sorry, but it was the first YouTube video I ever saw, and so I thought of it.
first
I
YouTube
thought I'd
video I
say it.
ever saw was first YouTube video I ever saw was Super Mario Bros. Frustration, where a guy said the F word over 150 times, and then broke his N64.
Was this
It was
the
half
angry
an
video
hour.
game nerd?
No, it wasn't that. That was the next couple I saw. I know it was just, the game itself was just called Super Mario Bros. Frustration. It was of the normal Mario Bros., but it was insanely hard. We had to get almost everything right, and he got to the second level, and then he started to just rage quit. And at the end, he just smashed something. I don't know what it was, but it must have
So,
been like a GameCube thing.
so to return properly to the topic of robots, I mean, the nuclear defense systems, the interception systems we have, are mostly automated. You first use detectors that detect the missile mid-flight. You then relay that to a command center, which then relays it to a missile launcher that fires a missile that directs itself into the other missile, thus destroying it mid-flight. So, that missile that's in the midair could be described as a robot, or at least, it's an autonomous machine,
Everything
being
made of
directed from the
metal.
ground.
Anything that can be programmed is basically a robot, in my opinion. Like what we're playing on right now are robots. What we're talking through right now are robots. What I have right next to me are robots.
Yeah.
They can be
No,
programmed. They can be remodeled.
robots are capable of moving under their own power. So unless it can't move,
Robots to
Unless
me
it
are
can
just
move.
things you get. Yeah, but it can be programmed to move. That's what I'm saying. Anything that can be programmed to do anything is just, in my mind, a robot. Because if we get the software into it, we could program it to be a fully functioning walking robot.
You do realize you can be programmed, right?
Yeah, but that's via post-hypnotic suggestions, and they don't technically count.
and you can't program a person to do whatever you want.
Yes,
It's
you
impossible.
can. It's called
You
training.
can. It's called hypnosis, and there's also hypnosis.
Called
and
indoctrination.
No. You see, you need consent to get someone to do something.
No, you don't.
Try to hypnotize
You
someone
don't.
to
You
jump off a
can
building.
train someone. Trust me, if someone blows a whistle and then throws a ball at you, after a while, every time that whistle is blown, you're going to flinch or go to try to catch a ball, even if they're not throwing it.
It's called adaptation, dude.
Well,
Humans have it for a specific reason.
Well, that's conditioning in Stardust's case, but
Yes, I know.
the definition of robot is a little bit open. Like I just typed it up: a machine capable of carrying out a complex series of actions automatically, especially one programmable by a computer. Now, the definition does use the term actions. Whilst my PC is able to do a whole slew of things, they're not, strictly speaking, actions, as in, acting upon something in a physical sense.
You have a point there. I just still believe that it can be, because you can always reprogram it into doing that. So that's why I believe Anything that
Well,
just can be programmed or changed via their software should be
like
classified as a robot, in my opinion.
my desktop, for example, does have a little bit of action upon the world in the sense it has a fan in it that blows air to try and keep itself cool. It has several fans, in fact, and I could just I'm not sure if I can I could. So I think if I worked hard enough, I could program some of the fans to not turn on, or change speeds and so on. Does
Depending on
that
the heat,
therefore
yeah.
execute as a robot? Well, if you're being extremely pedantic about the phrasing of the thing, yes, it's acting upon the world, so therefore it's a robot. I think, though, the most typical use of the word doesn't really account for fans built within a computer making it a robot acting upon something that much. I mean, the definition does say a complex series of actions. Turning the fans on or off or making them slightly faster or slower is not that complex.
Kind of.
Quote on kind of.
I could not do that personally. I don't think I have the know how to program a computer to make the fans turn differently.
Yeah,
Welcome to
I
the
don't know exactly what you do either, but I would imagine it's doable somewhere.
Yeah.
It all depends on how
Plus, there's
scientific.
also the contents of the parts. If the parts aren't meant to spin a certain way, they won't spin a certain way. And no matter program is going to do that.
That's why you need to give them nanites, because then they can shape anything they want in their body.
Well, that's quite an infeasible concept, at least for the time being. We are able to make processors, the bits that make up processors incredibly small, but we can't yet make robots that small that are able to enact such large changes independently.
I was thinking
the
like the size of little I was thinking the size of like little ball, like little like your nail or something like that that could be attached together to form whatever the robot wants in his mind to use it for. So if he wants to form like a little fan, he cool himself down, the robots would come together.
Well, the
Like-
smallest robots we've been able to make are about the size of your fist. And they actually are a special kind of robot that connects together like a huge snake. It looks absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure you
Looks
could
don't
probably
matter.
move it all
It's programming it does.
Like a robot could just be a robot can just be remotely controlled by either a machine or by a human on a controller. So I'm sure you can make a incredibly small, tiny little robot.
Well, yeah, like they have these little motion control cards that are like the size of your thumb.
It all depends on what you have to put in there. If you just put it like what I was meaning like was like a little tiny thing that could be controlled by a signal, like levitated or moved by just a special signal. So that the other
Far away from levitation, mate.
exactly. That's basically it. Just they can levitate it into wherever they want to levitate it, like magnets. But they can
Okay, so explain to me how the levitation would work.
Well, simple. The robot has magnets on their hand. It can connect with the magnets on the actual little nanite thingamajiggies, and he can use that to move them into special positions. I
So
don't
it's
know.
not levitation, it's magnets.
No.
Basically,
No,
I don't have
that
all
would
the
not
answers
work.
here, mate. I don't have all the answers here, mate. I just have ideas.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, in the case of my thing with the fans, I could, for example, make a program that instructs little arms I built inside the thing to try and pull out and put in the things connecting the fans. But still, that's not. It's a convoluted series of actions. It's not exactly complex. When people generally describe robots, I think of a more independent machine doing a lot more complex things than just sort of accessing the internet. It'll be usually it's like a robot is like something working in a factory. Like we got lots of robotization, at least in the West, for
Well, I gotta go. See ya.
repeated actions. All right, see you.
Oh,
We got
Nice
we got a
talking to you,
lot of
brother.
robots in. Yeah. That's cool. We've got a lot of robots on factory lines, and we have android robots that are able to walk around and even adapt a bit nowadays. But I wouldn't call my TV a robot, even though it is able to do a fair few things nowadays.
It really doesn't do any moving, so yeah, that's really not a robot.
Just because it's just...
Yeah, not by most definitions. I prefer to call it just a TV screen. It's a monitor.
What would be the general difference between a robot and an android? What makes a robot an android?
Generally
An
speaking,
android feels...
I thought androids generally refer to something that, is anthropomorphic in its shape. It looks like a human. It's got 2 legs, 2 arms, a body, and a head.
Android.
Well, does anybody have anything else they'd like to say before we go?
Let's see. Let's end on a really positive note. Let's end on a really positive note. Let's talk about the Iron Giant or something.
They make robot bunnies. That is something that is both cute, adorable, and nice.
Well, I think
Kittens.
such emotional appeals aren't necessarily always the best things to think about with robots. I think robots have done already a huge amount of practical good for the human race in terms, at least, of productivity. And whilst they are mostly unseen,
a lot of human jobs.
yeah, whilst they are mostly unseen, they are pretty good.
I am going insane. Very
Okay.
slowly. Okay, that's what you gotta say.
No. I know what to end on. Viewers, go buy Super Secret Crisis War.
What?
Super Secret Crisis War. It's a Cartoon Network crossover.
Never.
Like Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Ed and Eddie, and Ben 10.
Ben 10. I know.
So a good note is ending on a series where they're beating up robots, no doubt.
Yep.
As always.
Well, I'm Starlight Pony. I'm shining out, and thanks for showing up. Say your goodbye, Fighter.
See you guys.
This will be the 1 in a million chance of me showing up. I haven't noticed.
Okay, DCP? I think he's still gone. And Zachary, what do you have to say for your sign-off?
Sorry I didn't say much, but I didn't really have much to say.
Okay, and I'm Starlight Pony, and as always, don't forget to sparkle. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button below and become a member of the Star family and give a star its tail. Starlight Pony shining out, and as always, my little ponies, don't forget to sparkle, and I'll see you next fan chat.